We really want to disseminate this message as far and wide as we can. But what we said before when people are coming is if any of you don't feel comfortable being taped or anything, you could certainly put your camera off. You can certainly rename yourself too. So that's absolutely up to you. So now I'm going to give over the conversation to Elder Shirley Kane, and she will give us her wisdom, and she will start with her land acknowledgement for us. Thank you, Elder Kane.
Oh, miigwech, Mary Sue. I just want to say miigwech and thank you to Mary Sue and for Carmen for all your hard work and all your other people you have with you. Miigwech, thank you so much for sponsoring these. It's really, it's groundbreaking and I'm really proud to be a part of this. When I start, I'm going to start in my language and then I'll interpret so the interpreters will know what I'm saying. Mashkosi koi indigenous cause, migizi dotem, squagami wizaga getting into Japan. What I said was, my name is Sweetgrass Woman. I'm from the Eagle Clan and I'm from Red Lake Nation. So I want to start with the land acknowledgement. It's a traditional custom that dates back centuries from time immemorial for many Native nations and communities. Today, land acknowledgements are used by Native people and non-Natives to recognize Indigenous people who are the original stewards and caretakers of the land on which we now live. We want to take this time to acknowledge, defer, and show respect to the original inhabitants of this land who are from the Dakota and Anishinaabe nations. Indigenous people took care and showed reverence for our Namama Aki, or Mother Earth. We also believe our Mother Earth is very sacred to us as she takes care of us as well. As the original caretakers, we must always love and care for our Namama Aki and our Mino Nibi, or good water. In return, she nurtures and sustains us with water to live, plants to eat, trees to help us breathe, and herbs to help us heal. Most importantly, she provides sacred space for us to thrive on. Indigenous people also utilize animals such as deer, buffalo, and fish who sacrifice their lives so we can live. In Minnesota, some of our Anishinaabe people also harvest minomen or wild rice to feed their families. And then in the spring, we also tap maple sap from the maple tree to make maple syrup or maple cakes. And it's a healthy sugar for our people. Anishinaabe people say chimigwich or big thank you to them for helping us to live our lives in a good and healthy way. We must not forget to show mutual respect, reverence, and humility towards the Mama Aki, including all her original inhabitants who include people, plants, animals, air, and water. We also have been gifted with fire to help us heal in our ceremonies. When Anishinaabe people take something from our Namama Aki, we always offer a sema or traditional tobacco in a prayerful way and tell her chimigwich, big thank you to her and to the spirit of that animal, plant, roots, water, or rock, or whatever we take from her. We should always remember never take more than you need or can give away or can use for that year. We have a foundational and reciprocal relationship with her, our plants and animal relatives, as we love and care for each other. In our Anishinaabe language, we say to our Namama Aki, our Mother Earth, and all our other relatives, Gizaga in Apiji, which means I love you a lot. Also, I just wanted to add that one of the ground rules that we set for the group is that we really do not encourage like swearing during this process, during this meeting, because it's a sacred space for our meeting, and also it could trigger people's traumas. So I just respectfully ask that we be respectful in this space. Oh my gosh.
Thank you, Elder Kane. We will have you back after our blessing from Pastor Donnell Broughton. Thank you so much. Pastor Donnell?
Yes. Hey, and welcome everyone. I am so glad to be here. I want to give a blessing, but before I give a blessing, I just wanted to acknowledge the reason why we're here. And from what I understand, the theme of us being together is important. And I would like to further this theme and this reason why we're together, that is that we're better together. And so I just want to say that to you all, that it is such a blessing for all of us to be here together. And it shows forth the great cooperative of different type of people to be together and from various backgrounds to show forth that they are able to come together to talk about a cause that's affecting and impacting our community. As a Black-bodied individual, I have seen it time and time again, over and over. Even now, as I'm speaking, I'm dealing with somewhat of a crisis with some people in a neighborhood that I've been knowing for years, where a family is infected by the fentanyl crisis, where I have the grandmother that was addicted to fentanyl, her daughter's addicted to fentanyl, and now the grandsons are addicted to fentanyl, even to the point where the grandsons had overdosed with their mother at the same time. And so, as you can see, this is something that is impacting our community. These are Black-bodied children, Black-bodied women that are affected. The African-American community is affected by it, as long as all of the communities that are represented here are affected by it. This is important, not only to our community, but it's important to all of us. And I think, first of all, Carmen and Mary Sue and all of those that's putting this together are bringing awareness to our communities. We thought COVID was a crisis, but this is a crisis also, and it needs to be addressed. So as I bless this wonderful occasion, I ask for everyone that is a participant of this, that they have an open mind, that they're able to receive, and that there's no judgment here. That whoever is on here anonymously, whoever is struggling in whatever area of this crisis or being impacted by it, whether they're impacted physically or they're impacted by individuals around them and their family, their friends in the community, I ask that we have enough wisdom that we get from here to be able to assist and to help those that are hurting, and that we will learn and glean from one another. I also ask for the blessing on this from a divine power, whether you believe, wherever you believe, that you will have the opportunity to receive. And I ask that the blessing of receiving will be in this place. So that is the blessing. Let it be said, let it be so. Peace. Thank you.
Wow, Pastor Donnell, thank you so very much. That was beautiful.
Let it be so.
Let it be so. Exactly. Now I'm going to bring it back to Elder Shirley Kane again. This is a multicultural conversation. Elder Kane gave us some beautiful insights from the Indigenous perspective at our last town hall meeting. We thought it was really important to have her talk again about that. And then she is going to introduce Dr. Hector Colon Rivera, but that will come after her conversation with us. Thank you again, Elder Kane.
I just have to laugh at being called elder because I don't feel like an elder. In my spirit and in my heart, I'm not an elder yet.
It's elder out of reverence, not about age, I promise.
I know, but just hear what I'm saying. So this is a very serious conversation, and it's about substance use in our communities. And it's affected a lot of communities, and I think natives and indigenous people, we've been so profoundly affected by the high rates of overdoses in the country. And we have some of the smallest population. We're not even about 2 million, maybe a little over 2 million worldwide or nationwide. And yet we have some of the highest rates of overdoses and deaths in the nation. And we not only have the overdoses, but we also have high rates of suicide. And a lot of our suicide rates are amongst our Native men and our Native women. And then we also have high rates of substance exposed infants, or they also call it neonatal abstinence syndrome. So those are very, very sad numbers. And then we also have mental health issues, which stem from the trauma, the historical and intergenerational and the collective trauma that Native people have endured because of the loss of the land and the culture and the language. And so at the last meeting we had, I said to the group that I'm relearning my language, and I know enough to be a little bit dangerous for people because I'm so proud to be who I am and know that I'm not fluent in my language, and I strive for fluency. I'm just not there yet. So the other thing too is our health disparities are some of the highest as far as like having diabetes and health disease. And I think too that us along with other groups, other diverse groups, we have a lot of social determinants of health, including not having access to uh, good paying jobs, not having adequate skill level to get a good paying job, living in neighborhoods that have high crime rates, and having violence in our communities, and some of our babies are subject to not being able to play outdoors because there's needles outside. And we do have some awesome people in our communities who are trying and are doing a fantastic job with what they have. We have people in the Minneapolis area that are really working hard to provide housing and to provide mental health services and to provide treatment. I think that together, from a multicultural perspective, we can work so well together. And that's been one of my dreams, that we work on this issue, and not just substance use, but mental health. And we help each other in a good way, and support each other. And because what I see a lot of times is the funders, they put this small pot of money for us, and have us all compete for the money. And then only certain groups get it, so the other ones are left out. So I would like to really think about how we can do this together in a collaborative way. So right now, what I'd like to do is introduce Dr. Hector Colon Rivera, who is a distinguished general adolescent and addiction psychiatrist of the Pennsylvania medical community. Dr. Hector Colon Rivera has broad experience in community-based programs, with an emphasis on those programs that help to increase access to medical treatments for patients with substance use disorder. On May 2nd, 2022, Dr. Colon Rivera was granted a certificate of recognition for his efforts in furthering the Opioid Response Network's objective of providing professional services to our beautiful relatives in need. I first met Dr. Colon Rivera in 2019 when he was the keynote presenter during Hispanic Heritage Month on September 26, 2019. This conference was sponsored by the Minnesota Department of Human Services and was entitled Esperanza para Nuestra Comunidad, Hope for Our Community. And it was just for that brief period of time that I was a supervisor there. And Chimigwich to Julie Jacobson, she was one of my assistants that was working for me, or working with me. And she was very competent, and she was very able, and she organized, planned, and prepared for that conference. Then she brought in Carmen Robles to prepare every detail for that conference, including what food we would be eating. And so we ordered food from one of the local Hispanic, what's it called? Burrito Mercado or something like that. It was very good anyway, delicious. And so prior to that event, we held numerous community meetings with other local Latinx community agencies. And as a community, we all advocated to make it happen. And both Carmen and Julie are very amazing and committed to advocacy for our communities. And I was very impressed at the network that Carmen had. And then she helped to bring in some of the legislators that came and participated in that conference, and also brought in public television, and they televised the whole day. It was really awesome. Had some young people come and talk about their path to wellness and going into treatment. It was really powerful. Today, Dr. Colon Rivera continues to support our very important work. He's a fierce advocate in communicating his consistent message of hope. When the pandemic hit, he pivoted and helped redesign outreach efforts through virtual town hall meetings like this one. As he says, and I quote, We can continue family conversations about the consequences and dangers of misusing prescription opioids by creating a culturally specific message on preventing opioid use and other substance use disorders in multicultural immigrant youth. I give you Dr. Colon Rivera.
Thank you for the invitation. And the key word is together, right? We cannot do this by ourselves. And welcome, bienvenidos a todos, and thank you for the introduction. So the epidemic, right? We have been talking about this for a long time. I mean, an event that started back in the 90s, and the painkillers were the situation back then. And the way I see it, the epidemic is in different waves, right? We see in different olas, ¿verdad? Olas como la del mar, que vienen y van. In the 90s, we see how the painkillers increased, and then we saw a wave of heroin coming in the early 2000s. Then fentanyl started coming in 2013, 2016, and then we saw a spike of overdoses on that time. Now we're seeing fentanyl, but also other chemicals like psilocin, or they call it tranq, in different states, including the state of Minnesota, including the state of Pennsylvania, which has been really affected by the tranq or the psilocin, which is a tranquilizer used for vets, veterinarians, and they use for, to make animals to feel better and not having pain, and also anesthesia for rabbits, for horses, for dogs, for any animal, and it's not for human consumption. And what worries me is, yes, we start with painkillers, and still people are abusing painkillers, and these painkillers are being bought or given by mostly friends, family. About 47%, so almost half of the painkillers that people are abusing, or our kids, our adolescents, our children are using, are coming from people that they know. Only 6% of these painkillers are bought by dealers on the street. So we are a community, so we need to know how to prevent these painkillers from getting to your kids, your neighbors, your friends' hands, and we can do a difference. Also, we know that the people that misuse this the most that use this are between the ages of 18 and 25. So just close your eyes and go back when you were 18 and 25, right? You were starting your life, you were out of high school, you were starting college, probably starting a family. So we are affecting a key area of our society, our communities, our families, affecting the 18 to 25. This is followed by 25 to 26 and older, but still the majority of misuse and the area most affected, the ages most affected are still between the ages of 18 and 25. We talk about risk factors for using. And risk factors include, and can start with trauma. It's a huge risk factor. We talk about mental illness, right? Depression, anxiety, but trauma has an odds ratio of higher than other mental illnesses or causes for opioid use. And we're talking about a big difference of ratio. I mean, the data is between 7 to 4 for major depressive disorder versus PTSD. So trauma is a big part of it. Also, family history has a big part, especially with cocaine and alcohol use disorders. Even smoking cigarettes has a big risk factor for using opioids. Drinking alcohol, smoking marijuana are risk factors. And other risk factors of using, right, are, motor vehicle accidents, pregnancies or wanted pregnancies, chronic diseases, mental illness, and suicide. And other substance use disorders are created by the use of opioids. So with that being said, I mean, why people use? Well, people use because they want to feel better sometimes, they want to do better sometimes, or because they're struggling, they're in pain. So we need to ask the why. they're using to be able to help them. And the why is different for every single person. So I believe in centralized treatment, and every person is different, and we should offer that to that patient, a menu of options to that person that's going through a substance use disorder. When we talk about fentanyl and the last wave of the three waves I explained, fentanyl is a really powerful opioid agonist. It's a synthetic agonist of opioid and has killed hundreds of thousands of Americans die from drug overdoses. And the tricky part about fentanyl is there are making fake pills that looks like painkillers, and people are buying it off the street, sometimes thinking that they're buying something else. And this is a situation that is nationally being going on for years now. And they look like oxys, they look like Percocets, they look like Oxycontins. I mean, they look like something else. Sometimes they even look like benzodiazepines or other drugs that people buy off the street. And the issue with fentanyl is it comes in different synthetics, and it's about, I don't know, sometimes 400 times more powerful than heroin or other painkillers. And about 42%, almost half of the drugs you buy there has some kind of fentanyl. So even if you're looking for heroin, you're getting heroin with some fentanyl. Now, even when you're looking for fentanyl, you're getting fentanyl with something else. So it's purely, I mean, what you're asking for, you're not getting it. It's mixed with something else. So, and now in Pennsylvania, we're getting a lot of psilocin, which is a problem. Psilocin is it was first synthesized back in the 60s by Bayer Pharmaceuticals. And again, it has a most relaxant property. It's an analgesic, it's a pain relieving, but it's not for human consumption. It's really similar to clonidine, and those that are familiar with names of medication, guanfacine, clonidine, 10x. So it's pretty similar to that. It's an alpha-2 adrenergic receptor agonist. But what it does is decrease the norepinephrine, decrease the dopamine in your body, and extends the potency of fentanyl. So that's why it's mixed with fentanyl. When you have fentanyl with psilocin, you are increasing the potency and the effect of that drug on your body. So the situation is now you have a fentanyl that is 400 more power than a heroin, lasting longer. So why is this an issue? Well, we talk about naloxone, we talk about Narcan. Yes, it saves life, but the drugs that we're seeing out there are getting stronger, and that's why we need to talk about that. That's why we need the community to identify better ways of treating this. So Narcan, it doesn't work with psilocin, but it continues to work with fentanyl, heroin, and painkillers. Remember, psilocin is not an opioid, right? So if you're using only psilocin, it would not reverse the effect of psilocin, but always use naloxone, always use Narcan if you are thinking about overdose, because the likelihood of someone overdosing on an opioid is really high, even though you're thinking about psilocin or why not. So I also want to say that I mean, treatment is available. I mean, we talk about all the bad news, but there are also good news. Treatment is available, and it looks like medication. It also looks like behavioral intervention. I mean, and behavioral intervention could be residential programs. It could be IOP. It could be partial programs. It could be 12 steps. It could be family therapy. It comes in different flavors, different languages. There's therapeutic schools. I mean, schools have curriculums for like a rehab program just for patients with substance use disorders. Pharmacological interventions, I mean, that includes the buprenorphine, the Suboxone, the methadone, the the Vivitrol, the naltrexone. So there are 3 medications out there that are FDA approved for the treatment of opioid use disorder. And the way of making the decision for this is you need to balance the assessment with the outcomes you want, right? For that patient. And as I said, I mean, it's pretty individualized treatment, it's patient-centered treatment. And of course, you need to offer all the options for that patient, including behavioral therapy and of course, medications. Always please include the family, right? Please include mom, dad, I mean, whoever is taking care of that patient, the partner, include the family, and also include the patient. Of course, the patient need to be included. So it's a team effort to treat this patient. I always say detox also is part of treatment. It's not a treatment per se, I mean, but it's part of treatment because we need to go through the detox to get to a different type of treatment, like rehab or family therapy. So naloxone and overdose prevention training, yes, it's an opioid receptor antagonist. It reverses opioid release and it prevents from sedation or respiratory depression. Has no abuse potential. Okay, it usually acts pretty fast, about 2-3 minutes, give or take, and it lasts about 20 to sometimes an hour and a half, depending on the patient and the tolerance for the patient and the receptors and the biology of that patient. But I mean, give or take, I mean, it's about 20 to half an hour. And please, I mean, teach how to use naloxone and Narcan to the people around that patient, include the family, do family-based overdose prevention education, do it in the cultural and the language they use, okay, and they're used to or they're part of. And yes, I mean, and I would say we should be training our kids in adolescents in the schools and how to use naloxone and Narcan. I mean, this should be part of the curriculum, how to use it. And when working with adolescents, I mean, it's really hard, sometimes harder to, and it takes a little bit more time to recognize their own behaviors, patterns than when you're working with adults. But they do understand. I mean, you need to perseverate and say, you need to talk to them and invite them to the conversation. Hey, Hector, I'm seeing that you're behaving differently. I'm seeing this in you. What's going on? What's going on? Okay. Remember, it's not about you. Okay. If the kid or the child or the adolescent doesn't want to talk at that moment, it's not about you. Don't get angry. It's not about you. Okay. They are the ones suffering. They usually tend to get angry or push you away, but it's not about you. Give the time, play with them. I mean, play video games, talk to them while you're playing video games, but always look at changes in behaviors. That's the key, okay? If you're seeing behavioral changes, invite that person, that human, to a conversation. Something's going on, okay? So I always thank you guys for your time. I mean, I don't know if we have time for questions, but I just wanted to mention that, and thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Colon. That was really, really instructive and helpful. I'm going to do something now before we have our friends from the DEA speak. I'm going to stop recording just for a little. So sorry. All right. Thank you.
All right, are we good to go?
Yeah, we are.
And you can hear me?
We can.
All right, fantastic. So thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of this conversation. It's so important. I think that this is something that impacts so many different folks from so many different areas of our community. I want to switch gears a little bit and kind of turn tables and kind of talk a little bit about St. Paul. What I'll start with saying is that I probably started hearing about synthetic opioids and specifically fentanyl probably in roughly 2016. And what I can tell you at the time is I kind of viewed it as almost like this mythical beast. Like it wasn't something that was real. It was something that was never going to happen here. And it couldn't be as bad as people said that it was going to be. And what we have found is the truth is that these fentanyl synthetic opioids are here. They're more horrifying than I could have ever imagined. They're insidious and they're indiscriminate. So in our community, what did we do? In 2018, we started what was the first iteration of what our COAST unit is now, and COAST stands for Community Outreach and Stabilization Unit. That first iteration was mostly focused on mental health and assisting folks in the community that were afflicted with mental illness, connecting with community-based resources. But we also started to notice some pretty significant correlations that people that we were interacting with also had substance use disorders or they had co-occurring disorders. So we took a very data-driven approach and we began looking at overdose trends in our community. And what we found from 2019 to 2021 was that fatal overdoses more than doubled. With a comprehensive review of our data, we became aware that what was actually happening in our community, as the doctor had previously said, is we were being hit by that third wave of the opioid epidemic. And we were seeing more and more of those substances such as fentanyl. So what did we need to do? We needed to be more reflective of the needs of our community. We sought out and we were awarded some grant funding through the state. We developed a recovery access program, or RAP. RAP is a partnership between the St. Paul Police Department and community-based organizations, and it provides a licensed alcohol and drug counselor, also known as LADC, with a licensed clinical social worker also to assist, known as a licensed clinical social worker. And these clinicians are paired with an officer to provide follow-up aftercare for non-fatal overdoses, care coordination, diagnostic assessments, and referrals to treatment. In 2021, we established a partnership with the Minnesota Department of Health, or MDH, to pilot a drug surveillance program. In that partnership, we collaborated with the Minnesota Department of Health lab to test narcotics, which are not associated with criminal offenses. The purpose is to rapidly identify some of the substances and drug trends in our community that might increase the likelihood of an overdose. We then use that information to educate the community during follow-up and outreach activities. In the last 2 years, since we brought on our LADC, LICSW, we've interacted with almost 3,000 different individuals. We've provided over 2,500 service referrals and done almost 2,000 diagnostic assessments, or DAs. I want to say that these DAs are very important because they are this key that accesses treatment and allows for billing services. Lastly, I want to note that our St. Paul Police Department carries Narcan. We began carrying Narcan roughly 6 years ago, and in that time, we've administered it to over 300 individuals. And while I find all of these numbers very encouraging, I want to say that we strive to provide culturally competent services. COAST staff received additional training in cultural competency. Currently, 33% or 1/3 of our staff are members of the BIPOC community. We also have access to community engagement specialists and community liaison officers, which are members of the BIPOC community. We often draw on those folks when we're providing outreach and education within the community. And then finally, we want to be more reflective of our community, specifically the sworn officers. And so we've developed a Law Enforcement Career Paths Academy, or LECPA, and that is focused on developing individuals from the BIPOC community into St. Paul police officers, providing them with employment, mentorship, and education. I want to close in just saying that our goal within the St. Paul Police Department is to provide service with a purpose. We are striving to provide culturally competent interventions for substance use, co-occurring disorders. The investments we've made thus far have provided thousands with some of these service referrals, care coordination, and DAs. And that has helped, in my belief, stem the tide of this opioid epidemic. Thank you. That's all I have for right now.
Yes, thank you, Sergeant Tiffany. Really thank you for your service. I know you're right out there on the streets, in the field every day, fighting this, and I feel your compassion as well, and your commitment and dedication. So I'm so grateful for the services that you provide. I want to bring this up to now Wendy Goodman, because she's the director of the Children's Mental Health Collaborative. And as Sergeant Tiffany talked about, you know, the correlation of mental health and substance use disorder is very strong. And Wendy's going to talk to us tonight just a little bit about kind of the importance again of children's mental health support resources and ways we can surround our kids with the community in very instructive and helpful ways. So Wendy, I'm gonna give it to you. Thank you so much.
Hello. I thought I would very quickly go through some slides that we shared in previous town halls, but I think they're important just to share again. And then we have a couple new pieces to share tonight as well. The first one is really just repeating what Mary Sue just said, which is that sometimes we don't know which one comes first, and sometimes it doesn't really matter, right? Was it mental health that is impacting our use of substances, or is it our use of substances that have impacted our mental health? This is some important information to share, and that is that among young people who fatally overdosed between July 2019 and December 21, 41% had a mental health condition or treatment history. We've already talked a little bit about what some of those risk factors are, but I want to add on to the ones that we haven't mentioned yet, which are things like learning disorders, neurodevelopment disorders. We talked about trauma. Youth of color who have mental health and developmental disorders also have additional challenges and extra risk factors, and adolescents living in poverty. So these are all risk factors associated with substance use and fentanyl use. Self-medicating is a word that some of us use to explain why kiddos might use drugs and alcohol to fit in or to cope. Sometimes we know that if we have trauma and we're carrying that in our body and we're holding our bodies so very tensely all day long, being able to use a drug allows our body to relax, and that makes us feel a little bit better, or it turns our brain that is racing and racing and racing, it gives it a break, right? So that idea of being able to use medications or drugs to self-medicate is another reason why it's used. And it's why we need to identify the underlying reason for it. And so if you're really struggling with trauma or with anxiety or with depression, there might be a better, different way that we can support our kids instead of having them self-medicate. Few things that are important to remember is that our substance use and mental health red flags and danger signs are often similar to each other. I'm going to just increase the sign here on see if you guys can see that a little bit better. Just really highlighting there that in addition to the youth mental health red flags and danger signs, especially mood changes that last longer than 2 weeks, behavior changes, frequent fighting, temper tantrums, severe agitation, weight loss or gain, those kinds of things. Looking a little closer at the substance use or withdrawal symptoms. So looking at their eyes, unexplained nausea or vomiting or diarrhea, unexplained runny nose or nosebleeds, some stealing or lying that might be happening, shakiness or what we would see as goosebumps, track marks or scabs or picking at the skin from feeling kind of that prickly feeling all over your body, wearing clothes to cover those things up, unusual or unexplained stains on your fingers, feeling very, very sleepy, losing consciousness. So all of those pieces are important for us to be able to recognize in our family members, in our friends. This one is a new slide, and I just wanted to take a moment to really highlight it, because at a recent Family Services Committee meeting, the majority of our families indicated that they knew someone who had died by fentanyl poisoning or who had overdosed. We also have noticed that a lot of our kids in school right now are telling their teachers and others that they know people who have overdosed, who have attempted suicide, or who have died by fentanyl poisoning. That is very strongly impacting the mental health of our kids right now. So those kids might not even be using themselves, but they're knowing somebody that has gone through it, and so it's sitting on their heart, and that's leading to anxiety and depression and grief and loss, lots of feelings of guilt and shame. You know, why didn't I tell somebody? Why didn't I intervene sooner? What signs did I miss? And that's why it's so important for us to help educate about what those exact signs and symptoms are, what those red flags are, and then to remind people that in the same way that if you think that somebody might be suicidal, you come straight out and you ask them, are you feeling suicidal? Are you wanting to hurt yourself? Do you have a plan? It is okay. Don't be afraid to ask. Are you using pills? Are you using an opioid? Have that conversation with your kids. And there's some, we're going to show you a resource where you can find some talking points, like some ideas of how you might bring that up with your loved one. And then just keeping in mind that we also want to always hold hope in our hearts. And that's the song that Mary Sue shared. There are some videos of hope too that are on our bulletin board that you'll be able to watch after this. Remembering all the different protective factors that make a big difference beyond just what we would think of as like your medical model of therapy. There's so many other pieces that we can circle around a child or a family that is going to make it more likely that they're going to be able to stop using or not start in the first place. Be curious. I can't say it enough times. Be a detective. Be a detective. If it doesn't feel right, trust your gut. Watch for those changes in behavior and emotion. Really think about the social media use and what could be happening in the access that kids are getting to those drugs through social media. Checking web browser history, monitoring deliveries to your home. I mean, it's not Amazon delivers, but it's pretty darn close, right? I mean, it's getting delivered straight to the houses. And then, you know, text us, reach out if you need help because you can't do it alone. These are just a couple places that you can get some extra support. So I wanted to show you really quick how to find them. So if you were to come over here to our website, and you go over here to bulletin board. I'm going to open it because it goes faster that way. If you open it, it looks like this. Oops, there we go. So a couple things. The first one is, this is a basic needs and wellness resource guide that the Suburban Ramsey Family Collaborative maintains on a daily basis. And if you click on that information here, you'll be able to find details. Takes just a moment to load here, but it's not going to let me do it. I'm sorry, guys. Sometimes it doesn't cooperate with me on Zoom. On the left-hand side, it will pop up and you'll be able to see the most recent resources in the community. Oh, there you go. New additions to resources. And if you slide down here, that's where we're going to find our substance use disorder and youth SUD resources. So you can click on those. There's also a column here, specifically youth substance use. A lot of the toolkit ideas that you saw described by the DEA tonight are in this list here. There's lots of little short videos that can be watched, And there's also, Narcan naloxone finders. Where do you get the fentanyl test strips in the community? What's a fentanyl? How do you administer Narcan or naloxone? All that kind of information. There's the one, what do you say to kids about fentanyl? Here's a video called Hidden in Plain Sight that shows you a bedroom and what you might find in your child's bedroom that could indicate that drugs are being used. So please take a look through that. There's also lots of agencies who are offering walk-in services, support services, recovery services, all in that spot as well. Then back in here again, over in your resources section, if you go to search tool, you're going to find a list of substance use services here in our community. So you can click on that, and then you can find all the different folks who are offering substance use services. You can click on that and learn more. And then the last place I will show you is our family library. So under the family section, if you're going to family library, you can scroll down and find information on substance use. And so you can click on that, and then you can find some additional resources and reading materials about substance use and what you can do. Last piece I'll share. Oop, no, that was it. No more for you. That's all I have.
Wonderful, Wendy. That was great. And, I want to say to you all that Wendy and her team really cultivate relationships with thousands of families whose children are struggling with mental health issues. And at a recent survey, 96% of the families said they feel a strong sense of belonging. And we all know that's a big deal. And so if you have someone who's struggling with mental health issues and their children are, and they live in Ramsey County, please let them know about the Ramsey County Children's Mental Health Collaborative. It is a community that welcomes you into the collab fam. So thank you so much, Wendy. And talk about welcoming. I'm going to have Jesse Saavedra come and talk with us about, all of his experience working with families and individuals with addiction. And I'm so grateful you're here, Jesse. Thank you so much.
Mary Sue, thank you. Again, my name is Jesse Saavedra, and I'm a recovering addict, and I'm not here, and I also am fortunate to work with Ramsey County Public Health. And I'm not here as a Ramsey County Public Health employee, but I am here because of the fact that I am in recovery and work with a lot of families, do a lot of harm reduction right now in the community. Real quickly, I just want to share, Raphael mentioned a drug take back. October 28th, there is a drug take back that is being held at Cub Foods up on University, and that's on a Saturday. And I think it starts at 11 and goes till about 2 o'clock. And anybody that wants to dispose of any drugs that are outdated or just wants to dispose of any drugs can bring it that Saturday, no questions asked, and dispose of it. We will also be doing some testing there. Ramsey County has a syringe exchange program that provides testing in the community, and we will be there doing testing in regards to HIV, other STDs if people are interested. We will be also providing harm reduction utensils at that time too. So that would mean clean syringes, water, cookers, alcohol. Another piece that's really important that was talked about was fentanyl and xylazine. A clinic that I work with, Clinic 555 Ramsey County, offers free test strips for xylazine and for fentanyl. And if anybody is interested in those, they could come to Clinic 555 and get free test strips and be taught how to use those. We also give out Narcan at that clinic as well. The importance of what everybody has already talked about today is so important because, as we heard from another speaker, we work better together. And I think with these collaboratives that have been going on in the last few months, I want to say I've been fortunate enough to be able to work with Carmen, Mary Sue, Wendy, all of the individuals that were on today that are sharing some really key, important information with all of us. And again, remember that some of us can get triggered by these topics that we're talking about. So if you do feel that, reach out, talk to somebody, because that's how we get through these tough issues, is by discussing what we're seeing. I'm not going to keep going because I know there's other people that like to speak, but remember that we need to work together on this, and that partnerships are the best thing to have in regards to all of this. Thank you so much, Mary Sue.
Thank you, Jesse. Appreciate you. I'm going to move on, and then if we all have questions, we can ask them after all of our presenters. And the other thing is that Wendy and I and Carmen will stay after this conversation from 8:30 to 9. We'll just hold space. If anybody has questions or wants to talk, we'll be here. So now I have the honor of introducing you to Princess Titus. She's going to give a perspective about the work that they're doing with young people. And so welcome, Princess, and thank you so much for being here.
Hi, thank you for having me. Well, actually, I just wanted to start by saying, because this is something I learned when we did the work, is that I am acknowledging and identifying as stolen people on stolen land. Our young people that we worked with this summer, and we'll show a 4-minute video, but some of the things that we learned from them is that things happened to them. I lost Anthony at the age of 16 on the 4th of July, 2 weeks after his 16th birthday. And to have to be a mother and grieve and heal and build a great organization like Appetite for Change, because if all the kids can just eat good vegetables, right, then maybe their brains will develop different and they'll make better decisions and they'll put down their weapons. But what we were faced with was actually young people going into schools and going into doctors and being asked to leave schools because their head was on a desk, and they were truly sad. And those young people, when they left schools, they were greeted with young men, their peers who had also been sent out because they were all grieving. So we looked at a human partnership, gave me an opportunity to actually look at substance use disorder, overdose, the opioid epidemic being at the intersection of gun violence. So if any of you remember when we had a tornado, we had emergency preparedness kits that we built afterwards. So what we did at Human is we partnered with young people and we allowed them to help lead and give voice to preparing to prepare them for the emergency that they're in every day. Are they prepared to respond if a friend is accidentally overdosing? Are they prepared to respond if someone is contemplating suicide? Are they prepared to respond if someone is shot or stabbed and has a wound that is bleeding out? Because what's happening is after they lose a friend to gun violence, and I'm just starting there on the path, after they self-medicate, we talked about that, they retaliate. And after retaliating, if someone is shot or stabbed or maybe even ran over, or someone becomes incarcerated, they're using those substances to self-medicate to tend to those wounds alone. And then they retaliate, harm other people. And the saddest story I ever heard was that a young man who was in prison while facing charges for 2 murders was brought up on a 3rd murder charge and took his own life. And this was a young man who came to my house. I had him at 6 years old at my son's birthday parties. And so I feel like talking to our young people using harm reduction as a model, where we're having a conversation and we're not saying you have an addictive personality, but this is physiology. This is what the body does. It likes what you introduce it to, and that's how addictions are formed. We also, and I'm going to show a 4-minute video, and then I also want to say that, because we could talk about the data and the trends, so I'm just bringing out the pieces that everybody hasn't. So what we learned from young people after this 4-day engagement of training in QPR, overdose prevention, how to administer nasal Narcan and intramuscular naloxone. We also trained them in how to respond to a traumatic bleed. And what young people were telling us is that we have to be with them while they're having these through adolescence. They added on into that intersection with connected with substance use disorder, also sex trafficking. Like if we're not there to hear them as they go through being introduced to things, if we're not there to listen to them, then they'll go and they'll be heard by their peers who may have misinformation and pains and are choosing to use substances like the guy from the DA said, substances that they don't know what's in them. I love the chocolate chip analogy. Or someone will listen to them who will give them an opioid so that they can become addicted and use them or utilize their bodies in ways that won't bring them anything good. And so the other thing that I think we learned that was phenomenal is that young people said we have to be careful with our language. They talked about using words like activated so that you can deactivate instead of triggered. Actually saying that triggered is a word that triggers a young person if they know somebody who shot theirself or who has been shot. They talked about words like hanging in there, shoot you an email, I'll take a stab at it. And I really like that the young people actually even came up with, acknowledging that as African Americans, we are stolen people on stolen land. And so I got that from them. It feels a little awkward saying it because there's not a whole bunch of people acknowledging it. But being that the youth are the truth and they declare that, I carry on the work that they've done. We have a 4-minute video we're going to share, and you can go to that video. Thank you for listening, and thank you for sharing.
I'm just going to share my screen one more time so that we know that the video and the sound are both sharing at the same time. Here we go.
Day one was the first day of coming together with 40 to 45 young people and some of their parents to talk about the impact of substance use disorder in our community. There was a message that went out to the young people from the young people about this being a safe space, about how we were going to expose them to facilitation skills, talk about opioid epidemic, how to respond if there is an overdose, and also how to care for themselves amidst these challenging times. So day two was a beautiful day. We were actually outside in a green field with blankets that covered the ground so that young people could be in nature. This was really important to getting us outside of that classroom environment so that we could truly listen to each other. The young people were going to learn about the importance of listening skills and activating their ability to listen with their hearts.
18, graduated high school, you feel me? But like first year of college, St. Cloud.
I don't have a favorite food. Her nickname is Mafi. Her height is 5'1". Her favorite color is green like the money.
It all got lockers.
You'll find your time.
And she likes pizza, chicken, and ribs.
We talked about how to respond to and identify when someone's considering suicide.
We say contemplating self-harm because it doesn't always look like just taking your life. Sometimes it looks like cutting.
Don't be afraid to clarify. Don't be afraid to say, what did you say again? Did I say that right? Just because that also tells them you're listening.
Day 3 was physical trauma and traumatic bleed response. So we found a softer way to let young people know that the training would prepare them to respond to someone if they had injured themselves or if they were shot or stabbed.
In a few minutes to try to plug this hole, so get familiar with this before the blood comes out of it so that you can have some confidence when you're dealing with it. There you go, come on. Ask them all them names, right? Major, but that's coming out the gauze, you see that? Pull it on out. Pull it on out.
Day 4, the young people were able to be trained to be facilitators of overdose prevention training and how to stop an accidental overdose. That was done by Maddie at Steve Rumler Hope Network. The message to the young people was about not being judgmental, about spiritual, physical, mental, and emotional self-care.
All right, so at the beginning of each naloxone training, there'll be a before we begin slide.
After Maddie completed the training, we actually had the young people write a letter to themselves. That letter to themselves was to say what they were committed to do for themselves and what they were committed to do for their community. They had to address that letter to themselves, and we affixed stamps, and we will be sending that letter back to young people on 90 days of completing the training.
Oh, Princess, I'm so sorry the video didn't show the audio was so powerful. I almost wish we could see it again and try again. It's up to the group. I don't want to get us too far behind, but that seeing young people is a really powerful reminder of.
I can drop the link in the chat and then people
Okay.
can copy it and watch it on their own.
Okay.
Did audio not play during that, you guys?
No, the audio played, Wendy, but the video didn't show for some reason. It's okay. It's okay.
Oh.
Princess, what were you gonna say?
I thought, because my screen is locked on this side, I didn't know it wasn't showing.
I don't think it was.
So
no.
I didn't.
Oh.
Did anybody see the video? No one could see the video?
No, and
Oh,
so we
shoot,
heard
I
it.
wish you guys had said something. I could have fixed it. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Princess, if you give
Well,
us that
the
link-
ending,
yeah.
yeah, I'll drop the link in the chat. The ending part is that I wanted to share is just that doing the work in Ramsey County, actually with transforming systems together, working with families who have been impacted by gun violence, self-harm, substance use disorder, is that those families are really in need of kind of, Carmen, what you were talking about, somebody being up close to them, letting them know they're not alone in it, that they haven't done anything. I believe there's so many times that we're victims before we become offenders, offending ourselves or offending someone else. And so just sometimes having a client call and know that somebody's there. Now in Hennepin County, the work that I do, and this is how we're doing it throughout the Twin Cities, is I provide overdose prevention trainings. I've done them with Minneapolis Public Schools. I've done them with the SEIU and the Union of Social Security Guards. I've done it with Avenues for Youth. We have a team that's actually out right now distributing Narcan, naloxone, and fentanyl test strips. And the young people that I know that are still very close to me, who knew and lost my son, are still on the streets in Lake Street in North Minneapolis, in the Midway in St. Paul, and they're struggling with substance use disorder. Thank you for listening.
Oh, Princess, thank you. And we're so, so very sorry for your heartbreaking loss. And all the work you all and the youth and the young people are doing is so powerful and so needed. And I'm just so grateful for that comprehensive work that you do with youth. You can tell it's life-changing. So thank you so much, Princess. All right, and now I would really like to have Lawrence from Walker West and Donnell come back to the community for really a conversation about our attempt to work with young people to provide more messaging around fentanyl use and what we can do, maybe possibly in way of having youth-led or youth created public service announcements. So Pastor Donnell and Lawrence, Lawrence, do you want to start? I'll put a spotlight on you, and if you want to talk a little bit.
Sure.
Okay, here we go. Thank you.
Well, at Walker West, of course, we're a music school, and we have young people. That's one of the main parts of our program. Is we have from 2 to 100 actually ages, but the opioid crisis has reached all of us. And what we like to do is provide outlets for kids to express themselves through music. We feel that that's a helpful intervention. It can help address the psychological symptoms that the kids are suffering, cravings. Even if there's treatment, it can help with retention. So we find that music helps the folks kind of express their feelings through songwriting, through lyric writing. They do beats, they do raps, they do improvisation, and they can create their own, they can give their own voice to what they're feeling. And that's a big thing for just intervention, and just trying to deal with being a young person is difficult in the first place. But then when you have all the temptations around you, the possibility of getting into substance usage, then we want to support them for that. So what I've done is kind of introduce the kids. The kids is, some of them don't. They may know. They may have friends that are suffering or have suffered with it, but they themselves aren't. So there's a lot of awareness that I'd like to bring to them as they're doing the PSA, so that they understand, because if they don't really understand as much as someone who is actually intimately dealing with it, then they don't exactly know what to say, right? So what we're doing is trying to give them information, so, and also to prepare them for times when they may have to deal with it, because it is epidemic. And really trying to bring kind of cultures together. So we'd love to have an intersectionality based program. Maybe we do things like healing circles, various things like that. So right now I have a young man who is very interested in what we're doing, and he is a beat maker. And so we've just been getting together, and he's been creating pieces, and I'm just trying to bring more kids into it.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Lawrence. So just to catch you all up, we at our collaborative and with Wendy's collaborative and with Carmen and Paulina, we really wanted to create 3 consecutive summer conversations, and we did in June, August, and now around fentanyl. Our hope was to have some youth have a PSA provided for you tonight, but that didn't happen. A school started, a lot of things kind of fell apart, but I hear Princess is doing that in a lot of ways, empowering, well, their youth are empowered through the work she's doing with them. They're the messengers, and it seems as if Lawrence at Walker West has some real interest in his youth. And then I'm going to talk to Donnell too about the youth he works with. I'm just thinking if someone would want to work on that and hold that, it seems like maybe there's an opportunity for collaboration. So I don't know if Princess wants to, I don't know if you'd ever offer to add more young people into that idea. Please unmute and tell me your thoughts, because I really hope that this work. I just think it's so powerful having you speak with youth. Princess, any thoughts?
Yes, and I like the fact that, to me, what you're saying is you're offering young people permission to process. And I think that's naturally healthy. I think sometimes we're looking at the young people standing on the corner like, what are they doing? We're looking at their music, we're criticizing their music, we're looking at their clothing, we're criticizing their clothing. But these were children who came into an environment. And I feel like the investment, I'm celebrating the investment that Human was able to make in partnership with MDH. I'm celebrating the work that the DEA on the line. Like, I'm like, all right, Carmen, get going on. Let's get everybody at the table. And even the work that you're doing where young people are not judged, but are able to have permission to process that. Yes. Where would I be had there not been a garden for me to grow food in? Where would I be had there not been Mary Johnson, who got up close with it with me and said, you can survive this? And I feel like our young people are being left to their own demise. Mm-hmm. So I would love to continue the conversation, most definitely. Because I think that music piece, even when we look at R&B or rap or the evolution of hip hop, right? Young people are, and represent the African-American culture. I've been rapping since I was 9. My first rap was about Harold Washington dying. And then it was about thalassemia. And then it was about crack cocaine. So when people are like, all the kids want to do is rap, but we are storytellers. And telling story is what we did or what we do in African culture. And so how do we embrace that instead of judging it, because we're losing our children in that judgment? So I'm definitely willing to continue the conversation. Thank you for asking, and thank you for listening.
Oh, thank you, Princess. And thank you, Lawrence. And congratulations to Walker West for the work you're all doing and getting recognized as well. I don't know, Pastor Donnell, do you want to add to this conversation too?
Absolutely. And I'm so excited, and I think I'm going to ditto what Princess has just said, and say, hey, I appreciate the work that you're doing. Some of the places that you're naming,
Yes.
avenues for youth. I mean, I was the director over there some years ago, and I just love that that stuff is still going on, right? So, but one of the things I wanted to do, I don't know, is Denia on tonight? I want to introduce her as a youth. If she's on, I'm gonna give her an opportunity to speak, and then just take 2 minutes to just express why this is important, that young people have an opportunity and a platform to raise awareness of how things is affecting them in their community as young people from their lens. I do agree with Lawrence that our young people are available, and they have creative ways of expressing themselves. Princess said it too. You know, if it's the storytelling, let them tell their story, because their story is important. And as a young person having lived experience, I do understand what it feels like when you're not being heard.
Yes.
You're hurt, but you can't be, and you're not being heard. So one of the things I will point out, just to tell, and I won't tell her whole testimony or say anything, and she feels free if she wants to share it, and she doesn't. But I want to have an opportunity for her, because I know for a fact that she's seen it, she's lived it, she's been around it, and I'll say this part of it. She is a community organizer. She is an organizer in her own right. I've seen her organize even in situations where she had to rally and defend herself and to raise awareness about this thing called systematic racism, especially in the school system, of not allowing people to be able to express, especially people of color, express themselves in a way to raise awareness. And so I'll just pause because I get excited about young people. That's my other passion. But Denia, are you online? And if you are, unmute and you can express. And then if y'all allow me to come right back after she speaks, because I want to expound on what she said and really introduce her. Denia, are you on?
Yes, I'm on. Yes, I'm on.
Okay, you heard the question. What does it mean for you? Okay, so go ahead.
For
Welcome,
me,
Denia. Thank you for being here.
yes, hi. Yes, I'm Denia, daughter of Donnell. It is important for youth to know about drugs. Is that one, if they know anyone around them that are consuming drugs, they have young people around them to motivate them to see them like grow, even if it's a milestone a day. As long as somebody's getting better day by day, nothing happens overnight, but as long as we have young people who are encouraging them and, you know, being a listening ear to them, I think it's going to be very motivating for them to stop. And two, so they have an understanding on how it can affect them and the people around them long term. I feel like our generation is easily influenced when it comes to these type of things, whether that's for them to use it as a coping mechanism or they just do it because, you know, their family do it or their friends do it. So I just feel like young people should have positive influencers around them.
Yeah. And I was just thinking about this, Denia, you know, when we heard from the national office, the Drug Enforcement Administration, about that, you know, 7 in 10 drugs that you now get online are laced with fentanyl and could kill you. What are youth saying about that message? Do they know it? I know I didn't. Is there any guidance you can give us about how to get that really critical message out, and as well about, you know, Narcan and its life-saving abilities?
I think it's more like young people are, I don't know, my generation that we lived in, we're quick to judge people. So I feel like if we have other people who are understanding, even if they come from a background, at least to have people who understand where they're coming from. Yeah. And, you know, they're most likely to open up and be interested on learning how to stop and knowing the side effects of everything.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yes. You're welcome.
Anything else you want to say before we give it back to your dad?
No, I'm gonna let him take over.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you so much for your voice and your
welcome.
wisdom. Thank you.
Yes.
Donnell?
Yes. No, thank you for allowing my daughter. I don't usually bring my children to work.
Yeah.
Right. But this is one of the things that we have these conversations all the time.
and they see it, they experience things and traumas that I didn't experience when I was younger. And we're open as an open family to talk about some of the stuff that we have experienced. And I think Prince has said it most. And I think everybody's saying that we have to start seeing our young people. I love that leadership training of being able to be out in the forefront. So I want to pledge my, throw my hat in the ring, working with Princess, Lawrence, whoever. Let's get some young people together. And let's really make this happen. We're getting ready to come up, I think, statistically, and if there's any therapists or any mental health professionals coming up that are on this call, we're getting ready to head into the season where depression and the blues and mental illness is going to be going on a rise, because it's going to be the winter months, Christmas, holidays. And I believe that that's the highest rate of what we see. A lot of things happen mentally with people and families and individuals. And so I think it would be a perfect time. I know this is a summer thing, but it should be a continuance. We are in a crisis, and our young people do need to be able to have an opportunity to platform. I think we can make impact and change with their voices. And so I want to support. I'm here. Please, let's connect. Let's make it happen. Let's not drop the ball on our young people. If we have resources, let's put resources behind them so we can make it happen. I'm done. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you all. This was wonderful. So now, yes, go for it.
Before we give away prizes and have fun, Latasha is one of the parent leaders in our collaborative, and I noticed that she put something into the chat, and I can either read it for you, Tasha, or if you want to unmute and just kind of share about how all of this is making you feel as a parent.
Yes.
When do you go out to talk for me? I'm at work.
Okay, sweetie. She just said, honestly, to me, is a very scary and uncomfortable topic. It's very depressing to think about your child ODing to this drug. It's very scary to even think.
Right.
And so just wondering from folks in the room who might be able to speak to parents who are afraid because their child might use recreationally. Maybe they are getting, Adderall online or, any other drug that might be laced with fentanyl, being afraid of that overdose happening. What's the message we share?
I want to say to sit with that fear. Don't judge it. Don't blame it. Don't fix it. Don't solve it. And give it that space so that something can grow from it. Lean into your faith, because it's going to take that. Our young people, from candy cigarettes to now vapes to Dippin' Dots to marijuana now being legal and appearing safe, are being attacked at all sides. And I think something we've done, even as I study the Superwoman schema, with some work I do with Dr. Brewer and fostering African Americans in total health, that as women, we don't want our children to see us afraid. We don't want them to see us hungry, but we're missing meals when we make their plates. We don't want them to see us with our migraine, right, Wendy?
Yeah.
We don't want them to see us crying. And it's that humanity that they see that will have a young person or have a young man tell me, Miss Princess, I'm sitting my gun down. And I mean that cry where the lip splits, and it's not cute. And I do scream. I screamed in Walmart one day, and a lady came and stood next to me and screamed. Sis, I'm giving you permission to process that, and do not process that alone. I think about our younger people. We let them listen. 4-year-old, they listen to music, they sag their pants, they watch the violent video games. I told my grandson, your uncle was murdered. He was shot. They said, why'd you tell him that? Because this is the world that he's going to grow up in. And I need him to know that's not of his culture, that it is not normalized, but that he is a king, he is a gentleman, and we move accordingly. So that's just my little piece. That's what I've done moment by moment. And some people say it works. And thank you for sharing that you are afraid. I'm afraid with us.
Yes.
Thank you for listening.
Oh boy, Princess, you give me chills when you speak. You speak truth. Youth are truth, and Princess is truth. Thank you so much. Other questions, thoughts, concerns, emotions, things we want to talk about before we close? Anybody, you can put it in the chat if you feel comfortable. You can unmute yourself if you feel comfortable.
One other thing,
Yes,
Air
Lauren.
West, that we'd like to do to support is we are trying to reach some of the kids that are within and transitioning out of juvenile justice.
Mm-hmm.
And so that music, I've already talked, for instance, I'm just kind of been asked to mentor a young man who loves music, who's been through so much in his life, and he's transitioning out. And we know that is there's a lot of addiction that's correlated to just a life that leads you to desperation. And so just want to share that and say that that's also a part of what I'd like to help bring to the table, Princess and Donnell and all the rest of you. And so I just thought that should be said.
Yes, thank you, Lawrence.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else? Let's hear you. Your
Hi,
words.
everyone. Yes,
Hi,
thank you,
Julie.
Mary Sue. Can you hear
Yes.
me?
Yep, we can.
Yeah, this is Julie Jacobson from DHS. Thank you for everyone for being here. What wonderful work this is. I want to say at the beginning, when I saw so many people who I've been able to previously work with, Pastor Donnell, Shirley, and Carmen, and all of you, we are all doing this work throughout my daily work life at the state. I'm always reminded of Maya Angelou's poem, The Human Family. We are more alike, my friend, than we are unalike. And we are all going through this together. We really are. And of course, Dr. Colon, all Carmen does is regale me with how proud she is to have introduced you to our state and how you keep coming back for the people and to share your wisdom and knowledge. And I thank you all. I've just been dropping links in the chat. There is a vast amount of resources, and I want you all to be aware and how you've all spoken about substance use disorder and all of the things that are facing us and all of the work that we're doing. We have the attention of our governor's office. He's created an Office of Addiction and Recovery and named a director of that office. They're also working with this governor's advisory council on opioid substance use and addiction. And of course, the office that I work in at DHS is in the Behavioral Health Division, and we're working on substance use disorder system reform. And this is all such important work. And it starts at the community level, as Shirley and Carmen spoke of, and look at what has grown at this community level. We do stay connected by the relationships that we make, and we're here to support one another through the work. So thank you for this.
Thank you, Julie.
Just a wonderful opportunity to see you all. Thank you.
Thank you. I was wondering if what the governor's office was doing, especially since this feels so much like another pandemic. The crisis is imploding. And one of the things I keep thinking about is how accessible, when you think about, cultural accessibility to vaccinations, how the community just mobilized and brought vaccinations to various cultural groups. It feels like we need to do the same mobilized action for Narcan to get it in the hands of everyone. And so I know there's other states who you just sign a form and you get it delivered to your home. It's in libraries, it's everywhere, trying to save lives. And so whatever you can do, Julie, in the governor's advisory team to help us mobilize, we would so appreciate your advocacy.
I have one last thing I wanted to share, and then I'll mute myself for the rest of tonight. But in speaking about and thinking about the fear that we have in our hearts, and I'm thinking about my own family member who uses substances, and the fear that I have for him. I think sometimes fear paralyzes people, and we sit with worry. And so I guess the one thing, I'll tear up a little bit, but the one thing I would encourage us to do is to use the fear that we might have to spur us to action. And one of the ways we can be active is, and I'll just show it one more time. It's not always the easiest thing to go to these naloxone sites. Sometimes we feel it in our heart. Oh gosh, I'm gonna stick that on my list of things to do. I'm gonna get over there and I'm gonna get some of that and I'm gonna keep it in my purse, right? And then we don't do it. And we still sit and we worry at night and we don't sleep. But gosh, if we would just use that worry and have that spur us to action, we might go visit that naloxone distribution site, get some of that and have it in our purse, have it at home. So I would just encourage each of us that might be having some of that worry, fear, or sadness in our hearts to use that, inspire us to do some of that action.
Beautiful.
Can I say one more thing, please?
Of course, we all can. We really have space till 8:30, folks. But
Okay.
Yeah, so go for it.
Okay, sorry about the noise in the background. I had to start moving, but Wendy just encouraged me to share a quote with you all to address fear. And I've learned this over the years, and my children know I say it a lot, but it's a motivational piece. But I want to say it, and then I'm going to mute for the rest of the night. And this is for all of us. Be motivated by the possibility of success instead of the fear of failure. And I'll just pause.
Thank you, Donnell. Anybody else?
Yeah, could I say
Yeah.
something quickly? I want to say something.
Thank you, Elder
I've been
Kane.
trying to say something.
Yep. We will open it up to you. Thank you so much.
Okay, I wanted to just point out, I found out today that White Earth Tribe, all the schools on the White Earth Reservation are doing Handle with Care right now. And Handle with Care is a national program. It started in West Virginia. And what it is, it involves kids. And any child who's been involved in a traumatic incident in their house, if law enforcement comes, what they do is they send a notice to the school and all they say is, this is the child's name. And then they say Handle with Care. And then the social workers and the teachers know that that child should be treated really sensitive and with with just extra care, because a lot of kids, when they've been involved in those situations, they're very traumatized and they may act out, they may withdraw. But, there's just a whole bunch of ways that kids act out when they've been traumatized. And I think this is an awesome resource for our communities. It's not being used all over, but I was so happy to hear that White Earth is starting it. So I can help, what's her name? Get into some of the schools over there.
Yeah. Amanda.
Amanda. Yeah.
Hi,
Yep.
Shirley. Thank
Yes,
you.
yes,
Thank you,
I can-
Elder Kane.
That I think, and then Princess Titus, thank you for your work that you're doing.
Yes.
It's so inspirational because I think we don't focus enough on the youth, because the youth have been so affected by this epidemic, and then also the COVID isolation, because I think one of the consequences has been that, and it happens to Indigenous and other youth of color, that our kids, they get lower scores in math and English and science, because they don't have that care or that extra support that teachers give them when they're face to face with them at school. So I think that was such a disservice for our children to not have that face-to-face contact during that COVID time, and now they're having to try to catch up. And I think we gotta try harder to help our babies to achieve, to be the best they can be, because they're our next generation. They're gonna be our leaders someday, and we need to help them in every way we can. And thank you, Lawrence, too, for all your work. It's really inspirational. Miigwech.
Thank you, Shirley. Others?
Yes, my name is Tracy Jackson.
Hi, Tracy.
And I work for St. Paul Public Schools Project Reach.
Yes.
The last 19 years, I've been working with homeless families and youth. First of all, I'd like to say thanks to everyone for continuing doing this work. It's more than needed. As a homeless school liaison in St. Paul Public Schools, my job is to get kids enrolled in school, keep them in school when they are transitioning, maybe losing their home, homes are sold, maybe they're kicked out of their home. But more importantly to me, I explained to my supervisors and the higher uppers that I have to meet youth where they are. I have to meet families where they are. I have to take care of their basic needs so they can be able to rest and then move on another day. And that's very important. If I don't get a youth stable enough to even trust me, to even call me back, to even meet me on that corner at White Castles, and I go in and buy them something to eat, to understand them, to see them, but mostly important to hear them. I'm never going to be able to move them forth to realize their potential and move forth. So again, I am so glad that I took the time to be on this call tonight. I have learned so much. I've worked in different areas and facets in the community in St. Paul and Minneapolis. And again, thanks to everyone that does the work.
Thank you, Tracy. And thank you for your service working with youth and families to help them stabilize their housing, but to start with the basic needs and to see them, to be there, to hear them, to believe them and support them. Thank you. Others? Anybody?
I just have to add, because the video didn't show and I felt like I didn't do a well presentation.
What?
I'm not going to redo it, but I do want to say, because it reminded me of, hello?
Yes, you did great, Princess. Keep
Hello?
going. Yeah, we hear you.
Oh, no. But it reminded me of what Shirley Kane was saying about the handle with care. So when these young people put this program together, I wanted to name it whatever I wanted to name it. And they named it Saving Young Lives.
Wow.
And so that wanting to, and the front of the shirt that they did, it was in that Straight Outta Compton t-shirt style, but it said, I gotta live. And it was like, people can argue against Black Lives Matter. They were like, we don't know how. But nobody can argue against me saying, I gotta live.
Yeah.
And I think it was more about professing that to themselves. We had young people all the way from the age of 11 to 30. And hey, Auntie Tracy, and knowing what I know with my teaching license, you would never age appropriately have 11-year-olds and 30-year-olds in the same room, right? But 11-year-olds are getting introduced to substances by 30-year-olds.
Wow.
And those 11-year-olds that were in the room were there with their parents, but their parents were concerned. And so just wanted to say that I wish somebody gave me a t-shirt that said handle with care. I wish my doctor saw it. I wish the teachers could see it.
Yeah.
I wish my employer knew it. Do you mind if I heal right here? Like I'm healing right here. So thank you for sharing that, Shirley.
Wow.
That's beautiful.
Thank you, Princess. Anybody else? Well, I think we can kind of end gracefully, but with the knowledge that good work is being done, and we pray these conversations will continue. We've done these first 3 with the hope that then others would pick up and move forward. Yes, Jose, welcome. What did you want to say, Jose?
Hi everyone. It's a great pleasure to be here. I learned a lot tonight, and I feel like Latino community is like we have a little information about all these drugs, And I used to coach soccer, and I was coaching like high schoolers. Uh, and few of the players, they were great players, but they started using drugs, and we lost them. They didn't like soccer anymore. They lost on the drugs, and it's sad because I tried to talk to their parents, and they didn't know anything. And I don't see much information or uh, something like this, like with Latino families. And I think we're kind of left behind. We don't see any of this, and a lot of families, sadly, they come to the U.S. and the first thing is like work. We have to work. That's all we do. And that's something that we have to change that mentality, and then we have to advocate for our kids.
Yes, yes, yes.
But if we don't have the information and we don't have the resources that we need, we're not gonna
Yes.
be able to help our kids.
Right.
So I'm just pointing that. I just want to mention that. And Steve, I'm hoping to get more resources so we can share with Latino communities. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Jose. Carmen is in charge of Conversaciones de Salud, and her and Paulina work really hard to put newsletters out and have conversations with the Latino community. What do you want to say to that, to Jose, Carmen?
First of all, hi, Jose. So nice to connect with you. We've been doing this since 2019. We have conversations con la comunidad, con familias. Every Friday, we meet with familias from Hennepin County. Los Jóvenes de Salud, we did a soccer team where everybody was using drugs. It was 3 strikes, you're out. And yet we were able to get mentors. Dr. Jose Castellanos from Clues really led this effort. And the reason the kids stayed in school and stayed off drugs was because we were committed and brought food twice a week, arroz con habichuela, arroz con pollo. And we would go to the churches and meet the parents and put our things in Spanish and create our own public service announcements that has been recognized on a national level. So I want to take this opportunity, Jose, and invite you to Conversaciones de Salud so we can work together and we can really, we work outstate también. Yeah, you're right. There isn't a whole lot, but if you notice, there were a lot of Latinos. Dr. Colón, Amanda, Rafael, todo Latino, tú sabes. So we've got a great opportunity here for you to join us and we to join you. And our colleagues like Princess and Lawrence and Pastor Donnell and our fabulous Shirley Kane. I mean, and I'm sorry if I'm missing everybody. Wendy, oh my gosh, Wendy, you just, every time you just get right into my heart. Bridget Noring, oh my gosh. Mary Sue Hansen. Every time I'm ready to give this up and go on and do something else, I hear these stories and you just grab me in, and our work has just begun, but we're doing it. And Jose, encantada. I can't wait to connect with you and get to those kids. Vamos, los jóvenes de salud. They become our heroes. They march at 5 de Mayo because they do the opioid chant. They write jingles. They write PSAs. They did a PSA on opioids, how to get rid of prescription medication. That was supported by DHS. Thank you, Julie Jacobson. So tú sabes, I'm excited to meet you and hang out and get our communities. We also need our multicultural communities, our Korean brothers and sisters, Somali, Hmong, not to mention our Vietnamese, our African American. I mean, we got a whole lot of work to do, but it's exciting. And that's what's exciting about this particular series, our last summer series, is that we're together. We're together. Thank you, Sergeant Justin. I mean, we're not alone. We're together. Our deputy chief of police, una Latina, Pamela Badagan, who is so supportive. So we got a lot to do. It's going to be fun. Hi, Jessie.
Thank
So
you, Carmen.
thank you very much. I just had to go in there and talk about that. And
Well-
our soccer team never, ever, ever won a game, but they knew how to lose gracefully.
I love it.
Señora Carmen, he tenido la oportunidad estar en sus conversaciones. Me invitó la señora Rosita Balch.
Claro, esa es mi mano derecha. Esa es my
So-
twin sister. That's my twin sister.
So I've been to your meetings. I've been like, I haven't had the chance to
That's
meet
where
you,
I
but-
know you from. Yep.
Yeah. So I'm trying to do my best to help.
Yes, you are.
I'm just I'm part of the Hiawatha school community. So we have 95% of our schools it's Latino.
Wow.
So and then the high school we like those are the kids that I'm trying to reach, like those are the ones that need it the most.
You can count on me, Jose.
And then yeah, I know I can voy a tratar de agendar una cita para ver si podemos traer una plática de esta a la high school.
Let's do it. We'll bring in Amanda and all those resources that they have in Spanish for free. Que si que, let's go get them. And let's make our children those, usted sabe, in our community, they deliver the message. And so they need to have that sense of helping us, helping abuelo y abuela, Mexico, Puerto Rico. And it's very powerful. Yo estoy alegre. Thank you so much, Jose, for, I'll see you Friday, huh? Mañana.
And what I would love is if we could take the beautiful PSAs that the children have made, Carmen, and actually translate it into English and other languages. They're the
Well,
leaders.
we do it bilingual. We do it
Okay,
bilingual.
great.
Yeah,
All right.
totally. Yeah. And Jose, one of our students who's now a young woman, she created our first PSA that was recognized by the CDC. No fumamos. We don't smoke. And so now she's a full-grown woman, and she's going to come and she wants to talk to the Rosita's kids. That's what we call them, Rosita's kids, so that she could be that inspirational young person. So we have a lot to do, Jose. I'm excited. I'm excited that you're such a wonderful leader. And in our communities, usually the women and all of that, but to see this father, this incredible man, taking the leadership, being at those meetings, because of Jose Gomez, our Cinco de Mayo, and Paulina will testify to this, was our highest rating show.
Wow, nice.
Because he started the conversation, had other parents talking. Before that, nobody would talk. So Jose, encantada de la vida.
Thank you so much, Jose. Thank you, Carmen. I think what we'll do.
Can I say something?
Yes, Yeshi, sure.
Yeah, so this is Yeshi. Like the rest, I have learned a lot. I felt and filled with emotion. It's really very touchy, but sitting in here and listening, I also looked back from the community I came from. The Ethiopian community in a general, who is speaking different languages. Under the East African umbrella, the rest is covered under the Somali language. And nobody mentioned, there is nothing. Parents don't know. I try to listen around the church I go or somewhere else. So I am really concerned the kids are on the street with the drug. Parents are not aware of that. It's not common back home few years ago, even if it's getting around the world nowadays. So what I want to ask or leave in here is for those from immigrant population, specifically the Ethiopian, not included in here in any way or reached out. At least there is a parent a student meeting where something organized through the school to create awareness among the parents about their young children. We already heard the young children, 11 years old, 12 years old, 13 years old, exposed to the drug. So they came from the family who's not abusing drug. Here maybe through peer pressure or something they get into it. Is there anything in the future work that at least the school system can help create awareness among the parents?
Yeshi, I thought that, thank you, Yeshi. I thought that Opus was doing some community conversations with Ethiopian families. I thought, but I can connect you to them to see if you can work with them. That might be one thing. Carmen or anybody else, do you have any other thoughts for Yeshi?
Well, I want to thank her for saying that, because you and I, Mary Sue, we talk about this all the time. This is what we've done these past three conversations was just scratching the surface.
Yeah.
We want the moms and the dads to come and say, we need your help, because we want to help you. We want to do it. And so thank you very, very much for sharing that with us. And thank you, Mary Sue, for making those connections. And you can count on me. Whatever I can do, you got it.
All right, you guys,
The
what I'm going to do.
Ethiopian community. Wow.
Yeshi, I'm going to put in the chat Progressive Individual Resources and Dr. Oni there, who, if they aren't offering, they would connect you up with folks who are. And I know he's done work around addiction with the community. So
Dr. Oni's amazing. Yeshi, do you know him?
No, I don't.
You're going to love him. Okay. Yes. Good job, Wendy. So we usually end with an uplifting song, but I think what's most uplifting for tonight's conversation, I think, was listening to the youth that Princess was working with. So I wonder if we could try again and see that video with Princess's young people. And that's going to be the way that we leave tonight. Is everybody okay with that? Yeah.
Mary Sue, could I say one more thing?
Sure. Hi, Sam.
Hi, Mary Sue. Something that's just ringing in my head is a quote that I heard a while back, and I think it's by Mr. Rogers. But it's something like the way that we care for our children best, and it's like parenting, but I think we can use it in any of our contexts of caring for young people, caring for others in our field, all of that. But the way that we can do that best is remembering what it was like to be there, or what it was like to be a child, or 5 years old with trauma, or 10 years old with school anxiety. And I feel that so hard every day. Like, it's hard. It's really hard to remember that. But I think it's our best armor.
Thank you, Sam. Very good. And I was just reminded by Carmen, we do have ability to do a little raffle. Do we want to do that first, Wendy?
we sure can.
Okay, why don't you take it away?
So because it's 8:24, we can either do the raffle right now on screen, or we can do it off screen. I can show you that we've had several people leave, but we could still run it with everyone who was here. So what do you guys think? Should we run the raffle after we hop off screen?
Let's do that.
So you can see everybody's names are in here that were here today, and we will just go ahead and run that raffle after the town hall is over. And I'm going to put this over here instead. And this time I'm going to make sure I can see your faces.
Yes.
So that you tell me if for some reason it's not playing. And I downloaded it, so it should be.
It looked like it was on its way to being shown.
Okay, so here we go. Ready?
No, that's not it. That's
okay, thank you.
That's what we saw before.
What was I showing you before?
It was
Some
your
screen.
Your
gotcha.
beautiful, I don't know.
Something.
Yes.
Now you got it. All
Thank
right.
you.
Ready? So let's go. Make sure we have sound as well. Please poke me or do something if it's not working. Yes?
It's a little soft. No, we need it louder,
of coming together with
much
40
louder. Yep, 1 second. We're going to get it louder so we can really embrace this, please. You're doing good, Wendy. Sorry to stress you out here. Okay, she's going to start over.
Day one was the first day of coming together with 40 to 45 young people and some of their parents to talk about the impact of substance use disorder in our community. There was a message that went out to the young people from the young people about this being a safe space, about how we were going to expose them to facilitation skills, talk about opioid epidemic, how to respond if there is an overdose, and also how to care for themselves amidst these challenging times. So day two was a beautiful day. We were actually outside in a green field with blankets that covered the ground so that young people could be in nature. This was really important to getting us outside of that classroom environment so that we could truly listen to each other. The young people were going to learn about the importance of listening skills and activating their ability to listen with their hearts.
18, graduated high school, you feel me? But like first year of college, St. Cloud.
I don't have a favorite food. Her nickname is Mafi. Her height is 5'1". Her favorite color is green like the money. It all got lockers. And she likes pizza, chicken, and ribs.
We talked about how to respond to and identify when someone's considering suicide. We say contemplating self-harm because it doesn't always look like just taking your life. Sometimes it looks like cutting.
Don't be afraid to clarify. Don't be afraid to say, what did you say again? Did I say that right? Just because that also tells them you're listening.
Day three was physical trauma and traumatic bleed response. So we found a softer way to let young people know that the training would prepare them to respond to someone if they had injured themselves or if they were shot or stabbed.
In a few minutes to try to plug this hole, so get familiar with this before the blood comes out of it so that you can have some confidence when you're dealing with it. There you go. Come on. Ask them all them names, right? But that's coming out the gauze. You see that? Pull it on out. Pull it on out.
Day four, the young people were able to be trained to be facilitators of overdose prevention training and how to stop an accidental overdose. That was done by Maddie at Steve Rumler Hope Network. The message to the young people was about not being judgmental, about spiritual, physical, mental, and emotional self-care.
All right, so at the beginning of each naloxone training, there'll be a before we begin slide.
After Maddie completed the training, we actually had the young people write a letter to themselves. That letter to themselves was to say what they were committed to do for themselves and what they were committed to do for their community. They had to address that letter to themselves, and we affixed stamps, and we will be sending that letter back to young people on 90 days of completing the training.
That was just absolutely amazing. I'm so glad we did this. Oh, Princess, thank you for your work. If we can help you in any way so that this can be replicated all over the place, this is the answer. Youth are the truth. Thank you so much for your leadership. And thank you all for coming. We're so grateful you came. We're so grateful for your questions. You're teaching us and learning with us. Let's keep the talk going. Let's be ambassadors of this truth. Let's fight this crisis together. And if anybody wants to stay on, Wendy and I and Carmen will be here. But thank you all. Have a wonderful night.
The
We sure
raffle,
appreciate it.
Thank
the
you.
raffle.
Oh, yeah, raffle. Sorry. Well, people could leave unless they want to stay for the raffle too.
I'm
Whatever.
staying.
Okay, let's okay, Wendy, take it away. I forgot. Sorry.
And we want to give a special thank you to all our partners and to our guest panelists, our presenters,
Yeah.
our audience. Thank you all so very, very much.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
I have one more question. Is Princess still on here?
She is.
Yes, I am.
I had a question because watching that video, I seen a familiar face. So you work with Belinda.
I do. Miss
You're
Blenda
very
actually
close
helped
to
us.
Belinda.
Yes, I do.
Does she still do anger management classes?
She does. And the
Okay, I
therapy.
need y'all information. I need another course.
I dropped my number in the chat if anybody needed me to drop off Narcan, naloxone, or fentanyl test strips. Take my number, Latasha, 612.
I got it down. I got you already.
Okay. All right.
Small
Well, I look
Natasha,
forward to-
hey, side note, we've been looking for somebody to lead a training for the parents on that. Will you connect us up with who you said was?
Yes, she's awesome. Belinda, yes. You need
Okay,
to send
good.
her day way.
Don't forget, please.
All right. Wendy, are you doing this?
We're doing it. All right, here we go. Ready?
Yeah, we're ready.
All right, we're going to share a screen. I'm going to get the right screen. We're going to have noise and all sparkles and everything. Okay, here we go. Oh, Latasha.
Oh, Lavi got it. Thank you. Woo, Lavi, you're the winner.
LIUA. Beautiful.
Yay.
Do you know what you get? Tell her what you get, Wendy.
We're doing $25 gift cards.
Woohoo.
Yeah, we need your email, so put it in the chat, okay, Lavi?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yay.
All right, Wendy, next
Thank
one.
you.
Thank you.
Amy.
All right, Amy, good job. And last one, right, Wendy?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's wonderful. All right, beautiful people. Thank you for your time. Thank you for lending your wisdom and your spirit to tonight. We sure appreciate spending time with you. Have a good evening. We're here if you want to talk. Thanks again.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
everybody. Quay, were you very close? Yes.
Oh.
Hey, Wendy,
Yeah.
when you get a chance, can you check your email?
Oh, yeah, I will.
And Wendy,
Thank
I
you.
need that information for the Saving Young Lives. from
Yeah.
Princess.
So Princess Titus's work?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Pastor Donnell.
Okay. So how do we, Carmen, who has that information?
I just wanted to send directly to my email because I don't be having time to look on the billboard sometimes. It'd be too much information.
Latasha Donnell, one of our family support specialists.
Mm-hmm.
So,
should I put Pastor Donnell's email on the chat?
Sure. And Princess's plea. Oh, she put that in there. Yeah, you got it.
Okay.
No, just email me everything because I can't get everything off this chat.
Oh, off the chat. Okay, so
yeah, and I don't know when y'all put it on the bulletin boards. I be so late to look at that. So just send me all the information I need to my direct email.
Natasha, did you put the email address on the chat?
Yes,
Or
I
who's got your
did,
email
but I
address?
can do it again.
Tell
Yeah,
me
because we
who you want again, if you want it in an email, Natasha. You want Donnell and who?
And Princess.
And Princess. Okay.
Here's my email.
Thank you.
All
All
right,
right. I'll see you
gracias.
guys next month. Love you
Okay,
all.
Natasha, love you too. Thank you for
Love you.
being here.
Thank you. Many
Bye.
blessings.
Wow. Anybody else want to talk or just
Bye.
hang, or are we signing off? I think it's just us. All right. I think we did it.
Everybody.
Thank you all so much
Goodbye,
for your
Coco.
work. My goodness.
Great job.
Thank you so much.
Everybody.
Hi, Coco's baby. Hi.
Aw.
Okay, guys. Thank you. And I thought it was a beautiful night. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Saving chat information right now.
Okay, and
Oh,
I'm
yes,
sending
but
my
Share
I'll
that
email
over.
it to you next week.
Okay,
Later.
cool. All right. Okay, everybody. Have a good
Thank
night.
you so much. Have a good night.
Buenas
Thank you.
noches, mi amor. Gracias por todo.
Buenas noches. Thank
Buenas
you.
noches.
Thank you so much.
Gracias.
Beach
Goodbye.
Naomi. Bye,
Bye.
Paulina. Bye,
Everybody.
Lauren.